Revelation 12:11. They triumphed over the devil by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Aloha, top of the morning, friends and family. Is Brian Barczyk really sick? We're going to talk about it in today's video. Before we get into the meat of the video, I just want to preface it with talking about my relationship with Brian. I think that the majority of you, well, maybe not the majority, but a lot of you, I know for a fact, have found my channel from Brian's channel. We've been friends for about 8 years now, 8 years or so. That sounds about right. Yeah, trips to Indonesia and just going out to his place, checking out the Reptarium. Brian is one of the reasons, the main reason, Snake Bites TV is why I started a snake or reptile YouTube channel. From watching his channel was my inspiration to start on YouTube with reptiles, and just it eventually my vlog and doing this channel and putting out everything that happens in my life, or not everything these days, but vlogging essentially. I learned a lot from him, and he's shown me a lot of kindness over the years, and it's just one of those type of guys that will give you the shirt off his back, is my experience with him. And so if you've watched what's happening recently with him, you know that he's put out some videos where he's sick and he's been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And the title of this video is Brian Barczyk Really Sick. So I had a conversation with Brian the last time I was out there. It was last October. Went out to stop by the Reptarium before the Tinley Park show. And it was an interesting conversation. Any of you that have watched this video, any of you watched this channel in the last year are aware of my journey in faith recently, as I was saved about 1.5 years ago. And as you might imagine, anybody that I talked to in the last year has probably heard about it when we're talking in person. Any of my friends, I bring it up, really, because it's like people I care about. I want them to know about it because it's important. So that conversation came up with Brian as we were hanging out there, just the two of us. It was kind of a really nice time because a lot of times he's busy, he's surrounded by a lot of people, but we were able to have a time when it was just the two of us hanging out and having dinner and driving around. And the topic of faith and God and Jesus came up, of course. And I learned that day that he had been saved years ago. He gave his life to Christ years back. And what was interesting was where he was at today. And he shared with me a story of a good friend of his who had gotten diagnosed with stomach cancer. And I won't go over all the details of that story, mainly because I can't retain them in my head to feel like I can properly regurgitate the full story. But somewhere along the lines, that friend went to a big group deal where there was a lot of prayer happening, and he got called up on stage and was prayed over for healing, and then came to be that the doctors afterwards were just mind blown, thought that they had the wrong person's test when they saw him after that prayer session had happened, because they couldn't any longer find the evidence of the cancer, like it had been removed. And his friend had told him he felt like he had just been healed by God up on that stage. And then that friend ended up dying anyway shortly after that. And so it really shook Brian's faith. And part of me believes that God is using this in Brian to bring him back to him and to have faith in him again. And I just had a phone call with Brian a few minutes ago, and that sounds like exactly what is happening. So the main point of this video is so that I can call attention to folks that maybe don't already know about the situation from watching Brian's videos, or just to reinforce the idea that Brian and his family do need prayer, because he's going to be going through some very tough times. The man is a busy man. The man is a driven man, and he just works himself to the bone. I've never met anybody that gets up to the level of energy output as Brian Barczyk in my entire life. And there's going to be times he's going to need rest, and just how it's affecting his whole family I wanted to wait a little bit, and especially until I talked with Brian on that phone call. We were able to pray together for a moment, and in this last year and a half of my life, I've come to learn the true power that prayer has. Hearing testimonies from people who have been medically pronounced dead, and the experiences they've had beyond the grave, and what they saw prayer doing from the earth. Just the power of prayer is something that I certainly took for granted most of my life, and now know how truly powerful it is through my own experiences with it, and the experiences of everybody else who's shared their testimonies with me, and which has been quite a number of people, thankfully. So, again, the main purpose of this video is to gather together, to encourage as many people as possible to pray for Brian and the entire Barczyk family as they go through dealing with what is one of the more aggressive, or if you're going to have to get cancer, you don't want it in your pancreas. Let's say that. So prayer has been asked for and is needed. So I'm just trying to get as many people praying for Brian as possible, and just praying that God would use this situation for good. As believers know, God does use everything for good for those who believe. So yeah, that's about it. And then I'd like to get out of here with, I got my guitar sitting here. Maybe some of you guys are going to pick it up and play it. Of course I am. So all prayers will be appreciated. At some point we'll get more people together. I'm having folks out here that don't even know Brian pray for him and his family. And again, just this is a call to prayer. That's what this video is. So we appreciate all your prayers, and I know Brian and his family do too. Lord, I come and I confess, bowing here I find my rest. Without you I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. And where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, and when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. And Lord, I need you. Oh, I need chestnut.